So, hello, welcome to this monologue, Miles at the Teapot. So, let me ask you something. When you open your phone in the morning, before you even say a word to anyone, before you've eaten, before you've had a single thought that's fully yours, what is the first thing you feel? Like, not think, but feel. So, because I've noticed something, a lot of us, if we are being completely honest, we feel a kind of dread, a low level anxiety that wasn't there before we checked. We scroll past someone's highlight reel and feel quietly insufficient. We see a take we disagree with and feel something closer to rage than we'd like to admit. We watch someone get torn apart online and feel this is something that nobody admits, but I will. A small, ugly flicker of satisfaction. And then we close the app and carry that residue into our actual lives, our conversations, into how we see people, and we wonder why we feel so exhausted and why everyone else seems so stupid or so fake or so far gone. Here is what I want to offer today, not as an indictment, not as a detox sermon, but as a genuine framework that changed how I think about all this. So, the answer might be 100 years old, and it starts with the concept called the shadow. Carl Jung, a Swiss psychiatrist, most of you know him, most of you don't, but it's okay. One of the most important thinkers of the 20th century believed that the human psyche is not a unified thing. It is not a tidy, well lit room. It's more like a house where some rooms are never opened, where things get shoved in drawers and the drawer gets locked, and eventually you forget it's even there. The shadow is everything about yourself that you cannot consciously accept: your anger, your envy, your pettiness, your selfishness, the desires you are ashamed of, the impulses you've decided don't belong to the version of you or the version you want to be. And here is the critical part. So, repressing these things doesn't destroy them, it doesn't even clean your psyche up, it just moves them underground into the unconscious, where they live and grow in the dark, invisible to you, but very much still active. So, Young said something that sounds strange at first. He said that to meet your shadow is an act of moral courage, because most of us will do anything to avoid it. What we do instead, and this is where it gets relevant to every single thing that is happening online and maybe around the world. What we do instead is project. Projection is the psyche's greatest magic trick. When there is something inside yourself that you cannot face, something that feels too shameful, too contradictory, or too threatening to the story you tell yourself about who you are, your unconscious mind externalizes it. It takes that quality and sees it everywhere out there, in other people, in enemies, in strangers on the internet. So the person who is furious about everyone else's hypocrisy is often running from their own. The person who cannot stop calling other people fake is protecting a very carefully constructed performance. The person who is obsessed with how corrupt and morally bankrupt those people are across the aisle, across the world, across the field, is someone whose inner darkness is so unexamined they genuinely cannot see it. So Young put it plainly: when someone is exclusively focused on the outside world, they leave their soul emptied of its own values, and they fall into the delusion that all misfortune, all the wrongness, all the evil comes from out there. Read that again and open Twitter. So now here is where the internet doesn't just reflect this dynamic, it accelerates it, it weaponizes it. Social media gave all of us something that no previous generation had: a permanent public stage to construct the persona. Another concept Young gave us is the mask, the curated, polished, acceptable face we show the world, the version of ourselves that gets the likes and the engagement and the validation. And the more time and energy you pour into perfecting your persona, the larger your shadow grows. Because everything that doesn't fit the performance, every contradiction, every ugly thought, every hypocritical moment, it all has to go somewhere, and it goes down into the dark where you don't have to look at it. So this is what most people do. I also do it at times. So you get this effect. The more impressive someone's online presence, the cleaner their aesthetic, the more righteous their opinions, the more carefully calibrated their personality. So often, the more volatile and disproportionate their reaction becomes when someone disturbs the image, because they have been running from their own shadow for so long that any disruption feels existential. And we've all done it. I have, you have. It's not a character flaw, it's a structural feature of a platform that rewards the mask. So here's where it gets truly serious. This doesn't just happen at the individual level. Jung was deeply concerned with what he called the collective shadow, the shadow of entire societies. When a group, a nation, a community, a side of a political debate, when they repress something collectively, they need somewhere to put it. And what they do is find a scapegoat, a group, a figure, a symbol that becomes the receptacle for all the darkness the collective cannot admit about itself. The cruelty, the greed, the tribalism, the willingness to dehumanize. And the digital age has given the collective shadow a direct dial to the rest of the world. The algorithm doesn't show you reality, it shows you your projections at scale. It learns what makes your nervous system react, and the things that make us react hardest are always the things that touch something unresolved in us. The algorithm then floods your feed with more of those triggers, more confirmation that those people are the source of everything wrong, more fuel for the projection. The result is a population increasingly certain about who the enemy is, increasingly unable to look inward, increasingly exhausted and enraged and convinced the problem is out there. This is not a left or right problem. It is a human problem that the internet has industrialized. So what do you do with any of this? So Jung didn't offer the shadow as a diagnosis without a cure. He processed or proposed something called shadow work. And I want to be careful not to reduce this to a self-help buzzword, because it is genuinely demanding. Shadow work is the sustained, honest process of turning towards the things you project onto others and asking, where does this live in me? When someone online enrages you, particularly when the rage feels disproportionate, when it feels almost even personal, though you've never met this person, that is not just about them. That is information about you. Something in their behavior is activating something in your unexamined interior. The feeling isn't, am I bad for feeling this? The question is, what does this feeling know about me that I haven't been willing to look at? That's a hard question. It requires a kind of psychological honesty that the internet is almost architecturally designed to prevent. Because the internet always gives you somewhere external to direct the feeling, it always provides an enemy. It always gives you community in the projection. So, to sit with the feeling and turn it inward, that is a genuinely countercultural act now. And I want to close with this. There is a version of authenticity that the internet sells you. It is the confessional post, the vulnerable moment, the I am not perfect caption, and a perfectly lit photo. That's not shadow work, that's a more sophisticated persona. Real engagement with your shadow doesn't get shared. It doesn't perform well. It happens in the uncomfortable silence after you react badly. It happens when you catch yourself in the projection and you do not outsource the blame. It happens when you ask why you need the enemy to be as bad as you've made them. What is it that needs protecting within you? So, Jung believed that a person who has genuinely met their shadow becomes more whole, more human, more capable of real compassion, not the performative kind, but the kind that survives contact with people who are difficult, different, and contradictory. And I think that kind of wholeness, the unpolished, shadow integrated kind, might be the most radical thing you can bring into your digital life or just your life. A more honest self. That's what I've got. I'm genuinely curious what things brings up for you, because I think if it has landed the way I intended it, it probably brought up something uncomfortable or comfortable, but that's the point. Yeah, like, subscribe, don't share, don't